Hello, this is Joe from Nerd in Korea. We are doing our budget interesting commanders again. This time we're looking at the edhrec budget vehicle commanders, so the top budget vehicle commanders here. So what is this series about? These videos are meant to give good ideas for commanders that are available on a budget and a look at how to build them. So I take a very brief look at how to build them, so kind of just a starting block kind of thing. So a lot of it is available on edhrec, so I'd say this should be your go-to. Anyway, I have a lot to say on that. I should just do a separate video. So I am focusing on the commanders that use particular themes from edhrec. So I'm looking at the particular themes, so give you kind of, again, the starting blocks of a deck. Maybe not exactly how to do it, but anyway. So we are looking at the top 5 budget commanders for particular themes. This is the vehicle theme. So vehicles offer a lot of advantages to a deck. The main advantage is that they are artifacts until they are accrued, then they become creatures. So that is really huge in that most removal is not going to be like mass artifact removal, right? It exists, but it's not as common, right? Most of the time your opponents are going to have like creature removal. They're going to have like board wipes that take out all the creatures. If they do that, cool, great. Doesn't affect you, right? You don't care. All of your main damage dealers are going to be artifact creatures. Or not even artifact creatures, they're just artifacts that become artifact creatures when they're crewed. So you do need things to crew them, so that's a tricky bit, but you kind of just don't care other than that. So yeah, basically automatically built in, kind of avoids a lot of removal, and most board wipes are just going to do almost nothing to your board. So yeah, very, very good there. In the 99, okay, in the background you can hear my son. He's talking a bunch. I'm trying to get him not to, but he's playing Kirby. So he likes to talk during his Kirby games. Also, he loves Kirby. If you can't tell from behind me, there's a whole shelf full of Kirby figurines over there. If you're wondering what all those pink balls are, those are Kirby's. Anyway, okay, so Mech Hanger, first of all. This is like a must-have in any vehicle deck. You can tap it to add a colorless, sure, or tap it to add 1 mana of any color, spend this mana only to cast a pilot or vehicle spell. Whoa, right? That's pretty much all you need. For most of your cards, I think every turn you're probably going to be able to use it for that. And worst case situation just makes it colorless. Could probably just use that as well. If you want to cast like an instant or a sorcery, colorless works too, as long as you've got your mana fixing done, but anyway. And for 3 and tap, remember, if you're tapping a land and paying 3, you're really paying 4. But anyway, target vehicle becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. So there are some of these vehicles have very high crew costs, or maybe there's a board wipe that's wiped out all the pilots. This will give you kind of like a backdoor way to just still have your artifact become your vehicle become a creature all of a sudden and be able to like swing in and hit. Especially with some of the higher crew costs, that can be very worthwhile. Anyway, 25 cents. And Colossal Plow. So this is a vehicle. For 2, it is a 6/3. Not bad already. It is crew 6, so that's high, but whenever it attacks, add 3 white mana and you gain 3 life. Until end of turn, you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. So usually, every time, if you tap a land for mana, at the end of that phase, it's gone, right? It just disappears. This mana is going to stick around for the whole turn. And it's 3 white just for attacking with and 3 life. Yeah, sure, 3 life, whatever. But it's 3 white mana is a lot. 20 cents only for that. Any deck that uses white, even if it's not a vehicle deck, you might consider that. Finally, Daretti Scraps of... excuse me. I still have my chest cold a little bit. Daretti Scrap Savant. Savant, right. For 3 and a red, he's a planeswalker starting 3 loyalty, +2, discard 2 cards, then draw that many cards, or up to 2 cards, sorry, draw that many cards. So it's +2, you could just do +2 and not do anything. or you could discard one card and draw a card. Your sorting with this is amazing. It is actually very, very good for that. And -2, this is kind of the main one here. Sacrifice an artifact. If you do, return target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Crazy. If you've got even something that can make treasures or make any kind of clues or anything like that, like token artifacts, even token artifact creatures, sacrifice a 1/1 token artifact creature, a Thropter or something, and you can just return whatever vehicle you want to the battlefield. Boom, done. For only -2, that's pretty good. It keeps you in a good state anyway. And for -10, you get an emblem. Whenever an artifact is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, return that card to the battlefield at the beginning of the next step. So anytime they actually get rid of your artifacts, particularly if they do have like a Vandal Blast or something that's going to remove everything, you get an emblem. Again, emblem is not a one-time thing. This is every time. Also, emblems, you just can't really mess with them. Once you have the emblem, it's done. It's over. They need to stop it from going off, or they need to counter the ability that makes the emblem. Once you've got the emblem, show's over. Anyway, 75 cents. One last thing. EDH on a Budget recently did a video on, I'll try to put it up in the corner, the other corner, and it's vehicles you can put in any deck. So this is cards for vehicle decks, but he made a video for vehicles you can put in kind of any deck. Worth considering for just about any deck. I really liked it. I think whenever he makes stuff, it's very well thought out. He clearly knows the game very, very well. He's also the one who started the budget MTG group on Facebook, so he's pretty well informed on budget stuff too. Anywho, check that out. Number 5. Depala Pilot Exemplar, which I can't say apparently. Depala Pilot. Anyway, 1 and red-white, so this is a Boros. Kind of typical, I guess. There's actually kind of a good thing because there are just a lot of cards for Boros vehicle. It is not hard to do. Anyway, okay, first of all, other dwarves get +1/+1. Each vehicle you control gets +1/+1 as long as it's a creature. So anytime you make your vehicle into a creature, +1/+1. Nice little effect. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. She's a 3/3 with no other combat thingies. But anyway, whenever she becomes tapped, you may pay X. If you do, reveal the top X cards to your library. Put all dwarf and vehicle cards from among them into your hand. Then put the rest from the bottom of your library in a random order. I feel like this should actually be much higher rated or higher up the list. The number 1 kind of almost has maybe better in some situations, but I'd say it's almost like a watered down version of this ability. So yeah, anyway, I think she's very, very good. So total dex is 1,511. I believe she's a pre-con one as well. I could be wrong about that. I'm not exactly sure, but anyway. Okay, being able to tap her is key to getting most out of her as a commander. See, that actually is not a big problem because usually you have to attack her or something, right? You risk her losing her. Here, she's just going to crew something, right? She's going to crew a vehicle, so you're just tapping her all the time. Her being a vehicle commander kind of fulfills this condition automatically. So a lot of what I'm doing is looking at the other side of that. Taking advantage of the dual synergies with both vehicles and dwarves allows her to really shine. Several dwarves make great pilots. So yeah, dwarves and pilots actually go together quite nicely. So let's look at that. So we got Magda, Brazen Outlaw. Not really a pilot, but great dwarf. So for 1 and a red, she's a 2/1. Other dwarves you control get +1 attack. Not too bad. Whenever a dwarf you control becomes tapped, create a treasure token. So your dwarf pilots are just, every time they crew something, you're getting treasure for it. So tapping your creatures to pilot is basically like using them as a Matadork as well. In a roundabout kind of Matadork with extra steps, I guess. That's crazy. Sacrifice 5 treasures, search your library for an artifact or dragon card. Put that card into the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Probably not dragon, but artifact. Oh boy. All of your vehicles are artifacts, remember. So that's going to pay off pretty quickly. And speaking of dwarves, good old Sram Senior Edificer. I always want to call him Artificer, but... So he is a legendary creature, Dwarf Advisor. Dwarf, right? We love our dwarves here. For 1 and a white, he is a 2/2. And whenever you cast an aura, equipment, or vehicle spell, draw a card. So every time you're casting one of those vehicles, you're going to be drawing a card on top of it. And if Magda's out, maybe you're going to go ahead and just, tap a bunch of dwarves and make a bunch of treasure, and then immediately cast that thing you drew, and then maybe draw again. Whole value. Anyway, 70 cents. I can't believe he stays so low. He's been printed so many times, that's why. Anyway, the Prydwen Steel Flagship. I've actually suggested this one before, and now I don't know how to say it. But anyway, 4 white, so a little costly for a 6/6 flyer. Whenever another non-token artifact enters the battlefield under your control, create a 2/2 white human knight creature with token width. When this creature gets +2/+2 as long as an artifact entered the battlefield under your control this turn. Okay, so whenever, every time, basically you're going to be able to keep casting dwarves because you're going to keep drawing, and then tapping the dwarves to be able to just get treasure, and then casting more dwarves to trigger this. That's going to make more 2/2s that you can keep using to pilot. So you're just going to keep going around and around and around. It'd be lovely if it was a 2/2 dwarf, but it's a human knight, unfortunately. And yeah, this gets +2/+2 as long as an artifact entered the battlefield this turn. So probably they're going to end up being 4/4s most of the time, right? Most of the time on your turn, they become 4/4s, and you can just crew away with that. So that gets crazy. Anyway, 25 cents. Super powerful in this deck. Number 4. Kotori Pilot Prodigy. Kotori? Yeah. It sounds very strange to me. In Korean, ko means nose. I feel like tori means something too, but I can't remember right now. So it just sounds, very strange. But anyway, she is from the Precon, the Buckle Up Precon. She's in that, I believe. She's kind of like an alternate commander for that. That's going to come up a bit later as well. Anyway, 1 white-blue, so she is Azorius. Vehicles you control have crew 2. All of your vehicles crew 2. The major limitation on a lot of vehicles is that crew cost. So just cutting it down to 2 kind of means you get to use things whenever you want. Gets rid of the downside. My son is making a lot of noise now. He's getting very excited about his Kirby game. I hope it's not too distracting. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target artifact creature you control gains lifelink and vigilance until end of turn. This is a nice little bonus. Gaining lifelink at least is quite good. Vigilance? I guess if you have an artifact creature that is not going to go back to being a vehicle, that can be quite nice because they still stay untapped. But in general, vigilance with vehicles, like, kind of pointless, I'd say. But anyway, maybe I'm missing something. Lifelink is always a nice little bonus. 40 cents. Okay, so we've got, first of all, Starfall Invocation. This actually fits into a lot of these decks. Any vehicle deck that has white. Board wipes in general are your friend when you're playing vehicle decks. So 3 white. You can gift a card, destroy all creatures. If the gift was promised, return target creature card from your graveyard. Creature card put into your graveyard this way to the battlefield under your control. So you can pretty much just like give someone a card to draw, which is a nice little political thing. I like this draw a card mechanic. And you're going to wipe out, including your creatures, and bounce one of your creatures straight back to the battlefield again. So that can just be all kinds of useful. 99 cents for that one. One last thing I'd point out, I'm fairly certain that Summoning Sickness does not affect things' ability to tap to crew. I might be wrong. With Saddle it doesn't. Am I confused between Saddle and this? That's possible, but you know what, I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong. Next up, Parhelion 2 for 6 white. It is a 5/5. Flying, first strike, vigilance. Oh. Okay, anyway. So whenever Parhelion 2 attacks, create a 4/4 white angel creature tokens with flying and vigilance that are attacking. Every time it attacks, it just basically has 8 more flying attack power on the board. This one's crazy. The crew cost is 4, so that's usually its kind of limitation there, and then she's going to make it 2. So kind of just do that every turn, no problem. Especially flying first strike is flying plus anything else is usually like a super mean combination, so yeah. If they want to try and take it out, they basically need something else that's much bigger, like a dragon or something that can actually be like a 6/6 flyer, but they need a flyer that is higher power and probably first strike. Not very likely. A lot of flyers have lower toughness and might not have first strike, so they can block, but they can't really do anything to get rid of this. It's going to get you a lot of angels pretty quickly. Finally, Prodigy's Prototype. This is another one where if it's an Azorius deck, you should throw this in to any Azorius vehicle deck. Once again, we have a vehicle for 3 total mana. 1 white-blue, in case I didn't say it. I think I was rambling. Whenever 1 or more vehicles you control attack, create a 1/1 colorless pilot creature token with this creature crews vehicles as though its power were 2 greater. Okay, so it's going to crew like a 3/1. So basically this can crew anything with its commander, right? Every one of these you make, same with the angels, they can crew already. They have above 2, so they can crew anything. Just all done, right? One last thing to point out is that this ability does not require that you actually crew this, right? This you can just leave as an artifact and crew some other vehicle and then attack with it and it will trigger. Okay, so that is 20 whole cents. Number 3. Greasefang Okiba Boss. So, he is an Orzhov this time, so switching up a bit. Still has white, but 1 white-black for a 3/4. Better stats, at least. At the beginning of combat on your turn, return target vehicle card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. Return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. Weird ability. Okay? That's what I'm going to say first. This is a very... I think I called this, an odd duck commander. This is all about ETBs, right? You're going to cast something, you put it into the battlefield, it gets taken out, goes to your graveyard. You're going to bounce the straight, back to the battlefield. Then it's going to go back to your hand after. So you're kind of just getting like 3 ETBs. If you cast it and it dies once, you're going to end up ETBing 3 times, casting it twice. Really good ability. 28 cents. Okay, so this is I'm getting my cough again. Hey. I've got tea though, so it's okay. Thank you, Twinnings. Not a sponsor. Reckoner Bankbuster. For 2 mana only. It is a 4/4. That's already good, right? That's something you want with this, is something with low casting costs, because you are going to cast it and then cast it a second time, probably, right? So when it enters the battlefield with 3 charge counters on it, and for 2 and tap, remove a charge counter from it, draw a card. If there are no charge counters on it, Create a treasure token and a 1/1 colorless pilot creature with this creature crews with as though it had power 2 greater. One of those pilots, basically. So yeah, you're gonna get 3 cards out of this, and then yeah, hopefully it gets smashed somehow, and then back to the battlefield, and then you can do it again, and then back to your hand, and then back to the battlefield. And it's every time it goes back to the battlefield, it's going to refill all those charge counters, right? The kind of limitation on this is the charge counters, but you can keep like burning them out and making that colorless thing. So yeah, it's going to be quite nice. Knight Paladin. Oh, sorry, that's 105 for that one, before I forget. And Knight Paladin, this is 5 for a 6/6 with Trample. Very nice that having Trample is kind of key with this. So it has Rapid Fire Battle Cannon. When Knight Paladin enters the battlefield, it deals 4 damage to each opponent. Each! So if you cast this once, it's already doing, in theory, 12 damage on top of being a creature with Trample. A 6/6 creature with Trample. It's doing 12 damage, and then hopefully it gets taken out, sent to your graveyard, and then you're going to pull it straight out of the graveyard and put it back again, and then it'll do 12 more damage, and then it goes back to your hand, and then you put it back again, and it does 12 more damage. 36 damage you're talking for for 10 mana. It's going to cost you 10 mana to do 36 damage. That's just nuts. Also, it only has crew 1. Okiba does not have any kind of bonus for the crew thing, so it's nice to have a low crew on it there. 139 only. I might have to pick up a couple of these because that's crazy. That is just nuts. The fact that it has Trample on a 6/6 means like even if they block it, they're still taking damage, and they kind of don't want to block it because they're going to take the damage anyway, and if they send it to the graveyard, they're going to take even more damage. So it's kind of like a bullying tactic almost. I really like it for that. It's like a creature that's really easy to crew, and then you can just keep attacking with it, and they just don't really want it to go to the graveyard, right? They kind of have to exile this or just do nothing. Speaking of they have to exile this, Surge Hacker Mech. Okay, 4 mana for a 5/5 with Menace. Menace I think is underrated, but anyway. Or I underrated it at least. When Surge Hacker Mech enters the battlefield, it deals damage equal to twice the number of vehicles you control to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. Twice the number of vehicles you control. You're going to be running a vehicle deck, right? Oh, that is going to be a whole lot of damage. It is to a creature or a vehicle, not player, unfortunately, but you're probably going to be able to do that multiple times, right? You want to do that cycling thing. I think the downside is that it is crew 4, so it is a little more expensive than I'd like to see on this, but still very good for 25 cents only. That's pretty good. Number 2. Okay, this one is actually not very vehicle-y or Kamigawa-y, maybe I should say. Alright, Bellow Bard of the Brambles. There's a lot of bees. I'm surprised I said it that well. For 1 red-green, so Gruul, right? Gruul is a very interesting one because I don't think this is the only Gruul one on the list, and it's not a common color combination for vehicles, but I think it can be very effective. So, okay, during let me back up. He's 3 CMC for a 3/3. It's okay. During each of your turns, each non-equipment artifact and non-aura enchantment you control with mana value 4 or greater is a 4/4 elemental creature in addition to its other types and has indestructible haste, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Just making them all into creatures automatically. They are 4/4, so it's a little funny, but any other special abilities they have still count, right? This doesn't make them lose abilities or anything. So if they have any other kind of like abilities that trigger on attack or anything like that, they still work. As a vehicle commander, this is also kind of nice because it's very flexible with like enchantments and things like that too, where you can kind of mix it up a bit. Kind of play a very different style of vehicle deck than what we've been talking about so far. Anywho, he is 99 cents only. So yeah, remember what we're looking for with him is 4 or higher casting cost things. That's the main thing right there. So yeah, let's look at some of those. We got Trail Tracker Scout. This is not a vehicle, you probably notice. This is another raccoon, because raccoons are awesome. Anyway, 1 and a green for a 1/3. Add 1 mana of any color. Mana dork, not bad start, okay? But whenever you expend 8, return up to 1 target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Expending 8 just means using 8 mana. In this deck, our things are 4 or higher, right? So if you cast 2 things on your turn, you probably you already expended 8. And with Gruul, it's just very easy to ramp so much that expending 8 is just going to keep happening. So you're going to be able to keep throwing cards back into your hand, back into your hand, back into your hand. The only other real limitation there is that it's permanent, right? So Sorcery's Instant doesn't work, but they're going to have to use so much energy getting your like vehicles and enchantments off the battlefield that putting them back into your hand, recasting them again, is just going to be a real mean little trick. Anywho, 99 cents only. I actually ordered one of these already. I think I'm going to order another one because that is just like, is this the best mana dork in the game? I mean, it costs 2, so people might not like that, but a mana dork that recurs things? Is there any other mana dork with recursion? I feel like there isn't, but there's 30,000 magic cards, so there probably is another one that I'm just not thinking of. Anywho, Horde Hauler, 3 and a red for a 5/5 with trample. Great start. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, which is going to be a lot because it has trample, create a treasure token for each artifact they control. For each artifact they control, you're making a treasure token. So you want that ramp? There you go. Ramp away. Especially just find someone with like an artifact deck and you're probably just making like 15 treasures from one attack. Absolutely insane. Anyway, 41 cents. And Untethered Express for 4 mana. It is a 4/4 with trample. We love our trample. And whenever it attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Crew 1. I really like how simple of an ability that is. And remember, those +1/+1 counters are going to count. The base power it makes it is 4/4. +1/+1 counters will still increase. So yeah, every time it attacks, it starts as an indestructible 4/4. Attacks once, it's indestructible 5/5 next turn. 6, 7, 8, so on. Real hassle to get rid of as well, right? Because these are just going to be vehicles most of the time, so they're going to have to use some kind of like choice removal to get rid of it, or if they have some kind of mass removal. Of course, if you have Trail Tracker Scout, you're just going to put this back into your hand and then back on the battlefield again. But haha, there's the trick. Anyway, 25 cents. Number 1. You can probably guess what that is by the picture there. Shorikai, Genesis Engine. For 2 and Azorius, white-blue. He's an 8/8, and this is the main commander for the Buckle Up pre-con. I believe Coterie is also in that as well. So you're not going to be surprised by my first suggestion. For a 1 and tap, draw 2 cards, then discard a card. Create a 1/1 colorless pilot creature token with this creature. Cruise vehicles as though its power were 2 greater. So basically, it can crew as a 3/1, basically. This does have crew 8. There's your downside right there. Crew 8 is huge, right? It's an 8/8, so that's not bad, but you need something that make that worthwhile. Just an 8/8 attack power isn't bad, but on a vehicle, it's just lackluster, okay? But the thing to remember is that his ability, that pay 1 and tap to draw 2 cards, discard a card, and then make your pilot, that that is not required that he's crewed. You can do that anytime you like. Hello, Mason. Oh, my son is here again. Say hi. Okay, alright. How you doing, buddy? He's being very quiet for the most part, so that's nice. Anyway, 124. I am not saying the number of decks again. 4,812 decks, so a lot of decks for this one. I was actually hesitant about putting this on the list because the price of this just is all over the place. I wanted to get one a few months ago, and it was like an $8 card or something. It seems like it keeps dropping, and then going way up, and then dropping and going... I guess it stays under like $10 or something, so by Magic card standards, it's not very expensive. But out of my range, I don't like spending more than $2 if you haven't noticed. So right now it's listed at 124. In Korea, I could find it for 3,000 won, which is little under $3 American. Anyway. So, as I said, Coterie Pilot Prodigy is 1 white, blue, which I've already talked about, but the main thing, she has crew 2, right? You want to give him crew 2? Also, giving your commander lifelink on 8/8 with lifelink is nice, right? Anywho, 40 cents for that one, as I said before. Next up is Mobilizer Mech for 1 in a blue. It's a 3/4 with crew 3. It is a flyer, so that's nice. And when it becomes crewed, up to 1 other vehicle you control becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. Once again, getting around that crew cost for your commander. So this is very good for that. Also, it's a 3/4 flyer for 2 mana. Not too shabby. Really? Crew 3 sounds not good, but remember those pilots, every pilot is just going to be able to do it by himself. Or herself, or themselves, or whatever. You know what? Yeah, I'm not getting to that one. 20 cents? And Katsumasa. That's a really fun name. The animator. For 2 and 2 blue is a 3/3 flyer. Okay. For 2 and a blue, until end of turn, target non-creature artifact you control becomes an artifact creature and gains flying. That's why we want this right here. Gains flying. An 8/8 flyer. For 3 mana, your commander... My son is run out of patience, I think. Your 8/8 flyer is worth it, right? It costs you 3 mana, so that's a downside, but that 8... All of a sudden you've got an 8/8 flyer. Also, all your other vehicles you can make flying and just crew them automatically. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 3 target non-creature artifacts. So you're just going to keep plopping down these +1/+1 counters as well on all of your vehicles, which when they become creatures means they just get bigger. So Shorkai is going to end up being like probably a 9/9 flyer and then a 10/10 flyer, and then with Coterie is going to end up with lifelink. I think I said the wrong thing. The Genesis engine, not Coterie, but anyway, 29 cents only. Please hit like and subscribe, it really does help. Okay, so the list. Depala Pilot Exemplar, 35 cents. Coterie Pilot Prodigy is 40 cents. Greasefang Okiba Boss, 28 cents. Bello Bard of the Brambles is 99 cents. And Shorkai Genesis Engine. I can never remember its name. Anyway, take it easy.